This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Friday, March 15th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, murder in the mosque. Mass shootings kill 49 in mosques in New Zealand, and police quickly charge a suspect. And Israeli warplanes hit Hamas in response to a rocket attack on Tel Aviv. Plus, the battle in Congress between Republicans and Democrats over a bill aimed at protecting babies born alive after attempted abortions. And a missionary doctor contracted the deadly Ebola virus in Liberia 5 years ago, but survived, and today still showing the love of Christ in that African nation. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin, though, with the deadly mass shootings in 2 mosques in New Zealand. New Zealanders are trying to come to grips with the worst massacre in their nation outside of wartime in more than 200 years. The attack in Christchurch came during Friday prayers when they were full of worshipers. 3 men and a woman have been arrested. So far, one of the suspects, an Australian, has been charged with murder. Scores of victims were rushed to nearby hospitals.
I saw some people had blood on their body, and some people were limping.
I heard and saw what I thought were firecrackers, and I saw young fellas running down the street. And then all of a sudden it got quite violent.
One of the attacks was reportedly live streamed on Facebook. New Zealand's Prime Minister called it one of New Zealand's darkest days. International correspondent Dale Hurd is here right now. He's following this story for us. So the Prime Minister also said it is clear that this can now only be described as a terrorist attack. What else do we know about the suspects who's charged in this murder?
Well, if the suspect did indeed post this manifesto, the manifesto was written by a man named Brendan Tarrant, who is a 26-year-old. He identifies himself as a 26-year-old Australian, as working class. He says doesn't belong to any groups, but has donated to white nationalist causes. And it sounds like he's caught up in this neo-Nazi movement.
So has Muslim immigration been an issue in New Zealand?
Not really. I mean, polls show it's unpopular, but it actually was targeted, the gunman said, because in the manifesto, he wanted to show that in a remote nation such as New Zealand, immigrants aren't even safe there. And so this has sort of been foisted upon New Zealand, apparently, by an Australian who said he trained for 2 years for this attack.
Oh, so hard to believe. Thank you so much, Dale, for that reporting. Much appreciated. Israeli warplanes hit more than 100 Hamas military targets today. The strikes came after a rare rocket attack by terror groups into southern Israel and as far away as Tel Aviv. As Chris Mitchell now reports, the fighting marks a significant escalation between Israel and the terrorist groups in the Gaza Strip.
On Thursday and Friday, fighting filled the skies around southern Israel. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepted several rockets fired into Israel by Islamic groups inside Gaza. Israeli warplanes retaliated by hitting Hamas military installations. The IDF released a graphic marking sites they targeted, including an underground rocket manufacturing site and a weapons manufacturing site. Hamas, a terror organization dedicated to Israel's destruction, denied responsibility. But the IDF held them accountable for what happens inside Gaza. The Iranian-backed Islamic Jihad also has a formidable rocket arsenal inside the Gaza Strip. The fighting began on Thursday when sirens wailed throughout Tel Aviv after Islamic groups fired 2 rockets toward Israel's second-largest city. Israel's Channel 10 reported the rockets were Iranian-made. After the rocket attacks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with security officials at the Defense Ministry in Tel Aviv to discuss a response. Some Israelis seem unfazed.
I took my dog for a walk. There was a siren. Honestly, I didn't know if it was here in the neighborhood because it was a bit low, and I thought maybe from a nearby area. Anyway, as we do, we went into a building, we heard an explosion, we went out, and that's it, we move on.
Hamas and Israel have fought 3 wars since Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip in 2007. Whether this situation will escalate is unclear. The escalation comes as Jerusalem holds its annual marathon, and just weeks before Israelis elect a new government. Chris Mitchell, CBN News.
For more on this, our correspondent Julie Stahl joins us now from our Jerusalem bureau. So, Julie, why was the military response of Israel so extensive?
Well, you know, Ephraim, we get lots of rocket attacks on southern Israel, but this was the first time since 2014, since the war then, that they were actually fired towards Tel Aviv, as far as Tel Aviv. They were also the Iranian-made rockets, which means they're more powerful. And, you know, Tel Aviv is the business center of Israel. It's a big population center. So if they're aiming at Tel Aviv, they're really aiming for, you know, for death and destruction. Also, you know, it was kind of a surprise thing. I mean, I guess it always is, but sometimes it's more expected than other times. Interesting to note that the IDF said later, they said this morning that they think possibly that the Hamas actually fired those rockets by mistake, that they were doing routine maintenance and somehow they got launched off. But nevertheless, Israel did strike 100 targets this morning.
Israel also is exposed to Hezbollah terrorist network on the Syrian Golan Heights this week. Tell us about that.
That's right. They said since last summer, Hezbollah has been developing this network since the Syrian President Assad, his forces retook that area of southern Syria, that Hezbollah has been building this network there of terror. They've been observing, they've been watching Israel, they've been gathering intelligence, they've been hiring Syrians who are poor and they need money. Their country's been destroyed. Not defending them, but hiring the Syrians to work for them, and with the aim of attacking Israel from the Golan Heights. You know, the Golan Heights is part on Israel's side, part on the Syrian side, and it's a big open plain. You know, and it's a strategic plateau for Israel. Also, Senator Lindsey Graham visited the Golan Heights this week, and he said he is going to push in Congress that Congress would recognize that as a sovereign part of Israel.
What can we look forward to this week on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we have a really great show. Of course, we always have a really great show. We've got a report on the Hezbollah terror network that's being developed there. Also, I went to Azerbaijan recently, a week ago or so, and we have a story on that. Azerbaijan was really, it's a Shiite Muslim nation that really strives to be tolerant. Whether or not they always succeed, we don't know, but they do strive to be tolerant. They have good relations with Israel, so we have a story on that. We also have an interview with Joel Rosenberg about his new novel. We have a story about a new film which explores whether or not that the 5 books of Moses were actually written by Moses, and there's some pretty good proof that it really was. As believers in the Bible, we believe it was, but here there's actually solid proof for that too. And of course, we were at the Jerusalem Marathon this morning, and that's always exciting. There's a group there called Run for Zion, Christians that came to run in the Jerusalem Marathon.
I love it. We can look forward to that. Thank you so much, Julie Stahl, reporting for us from the Jerusalem Bureau. And you can see Jerusalem Dateline this evening at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, a look at the battle in Congress over bills designed to protect babies born alive after attempted abortions. Now here's a quick look at the top trending stories at CBNNews.com.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Congressional lawmakers trying to protect babies born alive after attempted abortions keep getting overruled in the House of Representatives. Paul Strand explains how Democrats are using House rules to essentially censor those fighting for life.
Last night on the floor, for the 17th time, we asked to bring up the Born Alive Protection Act. For the 17th time, the Democrats refused.
There are babies being born alive and then ultimately murdered.
House Pro-Life Caucus leader Chris Smith described one such murder in a Florida abortion clinic.
The clinic owner took the baby, who was gasping for air, cut her umbilical cord, threw her into a biohazard bag, and put the bag in the trash. Like so much garbage.
Not only are pro-life lawmakers prevented from ending this practice, they can't even get a vote.
This is the height of shamefulness. It is absolutely an abomination that this is going on and that we're having to have this argument in the United States today.
But Democrats are in charge of the House these days and won't let the Born Alive Protection Act come to the House floor for a debate and vote.
Meanwhile, in the states, some lawmakers fear the Supreme Court could overturn Roe v. Wade and legalize abortion nationwide. So states like New York, Rhode Island, and others are pushing radical abortion legislation to keep such practices legal. So is Illinois.
They have introduced the Reproductive Health Act, which, according to one abortion group, could cement Illinois as the Midwest abortion oasis.
Melissa Cifuentes has been fighting a similar law in Rhode Island.
We are called to use our voice to speak the truth on behalf of innocent lives that are sacred and are worthy of our protection.
Halt this bloodlust and work to protect unborn and born babies rather than provide a killing oasis.
These legislators are pleading with Americans to call on their Congress members to sign the discharge petition for the Born Alive Protection Act. If that gets 218 signatures, Speaker Nancy Pelosi has to let the bill come to the floor. Paul Strand, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
Still ahead, an American missionary doctor made the headlines 5 years ago when he contracted the deadly Ebola virus in Liberia, but that did not stop Rick Zaker, and today he is still serving in the African nation. We're going to share his story when we come back. Stay with us.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
5 years ago, Rick Saker made headlines after contracting the deadly Ebola virus while serving in Liberia. Today, this missionary doctor continues to serve in the West African nation, showing compassionate care and love, all in the name of Jesus Christ. George Thomas has this look at his heroic work.
Rick Saker loves this country so much that he speaks English with a Liberian accent. It's not always easy to understand him, even for this reporter who grew up in Africa.
Do me a favor, if you cannot speak in Liberian English. Okay, so if you can talk in just regular English that you learned in high school, that would be
My man, I finished forgetting now.
I can see that.
Saker and his wife Debbie first traveled to the West African nation some 30 years ago. What drew the couple here from Massachusetts?
Well, I think it's the calling and conviction of the Lord in my life. He just has put a love for Liberia in my heart. And thankfully, he's given that same love and commitment to my wife.
Saker is a missionary doctor at ELWA Hospital outside Liberia's capital, Monrovia. ELWA stands for Eternal Love Winning Africa. Founded by American missionaries in 1965,
if you put your finger right here,
the hospital's mission is sharing the love of Jesus by caring for the sick.
Oh, he's fooling me a little bit.
ELWA is all about providing care, compassionate care in the name of Christ.
ELWA has been the Saker's home away from home now for 24 years.
In Corinthians it says, Christ's love compels us. And I think that that just characterizes the way that we feel that Christ's love compels us to go where we're needed.
Since arriving here on the shores of Liberia back in 1995, Dr. Saker has had one driving passion, and that is to train the next generation of Liberian doctors. His dream came true, by the way, about 1.5 years ago, when he launched the first family medicine program.
So what about abscess?
It's the only one of its kind here and gives the 56-year-old doctor an opportunity to put his training to use as a family physician.
It's been my desire for many years to be able to pour my life and my skills and my experiences into local doctors who'll be able to pick up where I'm going to leave off.
All right, this is the man on the motorcycle is Jeremiah Colley, and he's leading us. We're going to follow him. We are going to his home. Payakweli is where he came from.
For Saker, it's also about using medicine for ministry.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Big Daddy. You can do it.
CBN News joined a team from the hospital on a medical outreach to the Liberian forest.
Getting to take you on this medical outreach trip into a rural area and see, bring a pastor with us who can share Christ in the vernacular, along in concert with what we're doing medically. It's just exciting.
Our 2-hour journey through the bush brought us to this remote village.
This was not here the last time I was here.
After a time of worship, prayer, and a short sermon by the village pastor, Sekra and team spend the next 9 hours tending to more than 300 villagers.
Folks here don't have access to medical facilities. They have to walk several hours to get to a medical center.
Jarto Holdero and her baby had to walk 3 hours to today's outreach. She, like so many that CBN News spoke with, was grateful for the team's visit.
I'm so thankful to God that I could come to have my daughter seen by the doctors. It was a difficult journey, but worth it.
Probably in that operating room.
The Sekras also pay a price. They have lived through 2 civil wars, and the 2014 deadly Ebola outbreak in West Africa almost cost Rick his life. He got infected with the virus while caring for a pregnant woman at ELWA Hospital and had to be airlifted from Liberia to a treatment center in Omaha.
An American doctor who became infected with the Ebola virus in West Africa is in stable condition tonight at a Nebraska hospital.
Thankfully, he survived and returned to Liberia several months later to continue his calling of loving the stranger.
And as I always joked with people, hey, I'm immune now. I can't get Ebola again, so I might as well go and help.
In late January, Dr. Sekra received the prestigious $500,000 L'Chaim Prize for his work in Liberia. His hospital is also one of the recipients of a $2 million matching grant given by African Mission Healthcare and CBN that will help improve ELWA's infrastructure, train additional medical experts, and expand compassionate care to the Liberian people. Resources that Sekra says will go a long way to saving lives, both physically and spiritually. Reporting from ELWA Hospital off the coast of West Africa, I'm George Thomas, CBN News.
Coming up, a family-friendly look at the new movie 5 Feet Apart about 2 teenagers with life-threatening diseases who fall in love. Stay with us.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
5 Feet Apart arrives in theaters today. The movie tells the story of two teenagers, both living with life-threatening illnesses. They end up in the hospital where they meet and fall in love. Here's a family-friendly review from Focus on the Family.
We need that touch from the one we love almost as much as we need air to breathe. I never understood that until I couldn't have it.
In the movie 5 Feet Apart, a young woman named Stella is dealing with everything an average teen deals with. Friends, family, hormones, social media. But Stella is also a cystic fibrosis patient. So unlike your average teen, her life is full of necessary routines and boundaries that she has to rigorously maintain.
What would I do without you? You'd die.
She spends much of her time in the hospital and has to be careful about who she comes in contact with, especially when it comes to other cystic fibrosis patients.
I'm Will Newman.
When Stella meets a fellow CF patient named Will, however, all bets are off.
You think that's cute?
Do you think it's cute?
He's charming, cute, and flirtatious. And as the two get to know each other and their appealing connection intensifies, the medically driven rule about staying 6 feet apart gets more and more difficult.
Wish I could touch you.
6 feet apart at all times. You both know the rules. You catch his infection and you can kiss new lungs goodbye.
Would one little hug, one touch be all that dangerous? This teen-focused romantic drama is compelling, and it talks movingly about the importance of human connection, about cherishing the relationships you have and choosing hope when things feel the most hopeless. But there's profanity and other rough-edged language to deal with here, and several sensual visuals and conversations are in the mix too. So I'll give 5 Feet Apart a 2.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. For an in-depth review on this film or anything else at your local box office, visit us at PluggedIn.com. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Cheryl Wilhelmy from Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
Time now for your Friday Faithful, and today I leave you with this thought pulled straight from the pages of Scripture. Joshua 24:15 begins, "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve." And the verse ends with, "But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." The choice is yours. Who will you serve? With that word, make today a faithful Friday. That will do it for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch on a Friday. Remember, you can find more on the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And you can watch CBN News programs anytime on the CBN News channel. We'd certainly love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.